Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have the Venerable Lobsang Phuntsok joining us. Mr. Phuntsok was trained to be a monk at the Sarajay Monastery. He's traveled across the United States and Canada, spreading the teachings of Buddhism and the Dalai Lama. He also attended the Millennium World Peace Conference in the United Nations. In 2006, he came back to India and set up the Jhamtse Gatsal School for orphans and children in Tawang, Arunachal Pradesh. Sir, we welcome you here.
Thank you, dear.
So my first question for you is, what was your childhood like after you were sent to the Sarajay Monastery?
Very different than, normal childhood. I was sent to monastery for very specific reason. So this is a story that I tell. There's two basically categories of people go to the monastery. One is enlightened beings like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and there's another category for people like me, very struggling, very challenging kids. So my grandparents, when they were aging, so I felt that the monastery was a last avenue or hope for them. And it was also, I belong to a very poor family. It was also looked as like, it's like orphanage. So if you send it there, at least your life, you get food and safe place to live. So that was the reason they sent me to the monastery. But the moment when you become a monk, it's very different from any other kids. Like where we have a very disciplined and rigid monk. Like example, you cannot listen to the music, you cannot play any sports, you cannot do any entertainment, just focus on your life. So you just have to, anything you want, you just have to explore within you, nothing outside your life. So it was a very challenging, I would say, growing up, but very meaningful. And now I look back, I encourage today my children and even colleagues who work in our school to everybody should become monk and nun for 2 years. I think that would be life-changing experience. I still try to convince them, but I cannot force them to become monk and nun. I said, 2 years, can you become 2? I was like more than 18 years in the monastery. I said, 2 years. So challenging, but very meaningful and life-changing experience.
So there's a lot to learn.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And so after learning from His Holiness Dalai Lama himself, you were traveling the world and preaching his teachings. So what made you want to come back to India and set up your school here?
As a young monk, being monk doesn't mean we are not human. We are equally human. We have all desires. We have all challenges. We are pretty much very much like any human beings. Often people think monk means very different. People used to call me holy. I said, do not call me holy, because I know I'm not holy, because you are just a human being. The only thing, I think, the additional things in a monastery they teach you is how to work with your emotion. And that is a plus point we have. You have tools now. When you have a certain desire, when you have sometimes temptation or anything that you feel out of control, to recognizing your emotions and working with the emotions and basically learning to manage those emotions. Otherwise, you have all these emotions, so you have to keep working through this. So as a young monk, when they sent me to the US, I had the same thing, wow, beautiful place, I'm gonna enjoy, chill out, have a nice coffee, do every crazy things like, young people wanted to do. And I was enjoying like that, being just human being. But after a while, I was there for, I think, almost 10 years. Then after a while, I started feeling there's an emptiness. I realized, I think I'm lucky also, because very soon that I started feeling this is not the happiness. These are these are more sensual pleasures. You know, happiness you get from eating ice cream, and happiness you get from doing something good is a huge difference. But most people, they don't know or struggle to find happiness inside, so that's why we eat ice cream, because we feel great or we feel we'll buy something. So for me, it was something very early stage. I figured out, you know, I don't want to depend on ice cream or eating good food or living in a good place. I need something to, you know, search deep inside me. So that was a very personal reason. Yeah, you know, I'm feeling something empty. You know, it doesn't come from outside. At the same time, growing up in a monastery as an orphan, and so I used to visit every year to India, and especially to my native town, Tawang. So I found so many children, so many little Lobsangs on the roadside. No education, no healthcare, no basic even, you know, needs were fulfilled. So it started to feel like, how come that I could become so selfish? You know, just you know, I don't see this and enjoy my life. So that was something again in a more higher level, it was bothering me. How come I become so ungrateful? You know, I grew up in a monastery, I have so little, but I think I have enough. I shouldn't say maybe little, but I have the God or the Buddha or the universe has given me more than enough. And I need to remember that. And when God has given you enough, then you have a responsibility of, you know, doing something for other people. So that was, from another level it was coming. And personal level, there is an emptiness. There's, you know, this is not, I want to spend my rest of the life. So that too was, you know, from both sides coming pretty strong. So finally, you know, decided to leave.
That is so inspiring, sir. I remember after I watched your documentary, that was the first thing I thought of, that I am so grateful to have everything. And speaking of your documentary, Tashi and the Monk, you mentioned in it that you have to consider very deeply before taking a child in, as it is for their entire lives. So could you please elaborate those considerations?
Yeah, this is something we struggle. We do not have a right formula, and I don't think we will ever have a right formula to do this. And initially that we thought, like every kids who do not have parents, but we also now finding that there are so many kids do have a parents. Their parents are severe alcoholic, abusive, so they are sometimes worse than, you know, because not having parents. You know, the poor parents is sometimes parents are bearable, but your parents are abusive, and that is becoming a huge problem for the children. So way we find is, if the children now, if their life is under threat, we need to feel that if we need to save them, so we think from that area. So this child needs to protect immediately and needs a safe place. That's how we start with. But again, you know, I don't think that every year we make like maybe 10 good decisions and we fail, you know, over 100 wrong decision. So you feel like, I don't know, I never felt great after every year admission. You know, I never felt great. This year we did like 25 kids. I thought I will feel really happy. But end of the day I was so depressed because I could see everybody I say no to them, their face. And yeah, it's a very challenging.
And it must have upset you saying no to those.
Yeah, that is something, you know, you never get to celebrate the kids who came to your community, but more you are like thinking about, oh, why did I say no to them and what must be happening in their life. And I think in Tashi and the Monk, you said, at that time, it happened 2-3 times. You know, the young boy who was requested me a year ago, and I was not able to accept, he committed suicide, and that was so heavy for me. And I know that grandmother personally. And 3 cases happened in the short history of Jhamtse Gatsal. So I feel sometimes very sad, you know. So sometimes I wish the all money I need so I could just keep building Jhamtse Gatsal. But you know. So sometimes I feel that also.
So how do you deal with that?
So of course, growing up in a monastery, and there are so many different the trainings we were taught. Those are, I mean, some meditations and practices are pretty intense, very, very extensive. So I do every day at least an hour. If I have more time, 2 hours, I do go through that, deal with this. Those are really good. So I think the meditation, reflection, what we call the two kinds of meditation, analytical meditation and placement meditation, those are very, very useful tools. So I don't know, I tell people, how could you do such a things without the meditation? I'm not a good meditator, please don't listen. But so what I feel hopeful is, like, I'm a very bad meditator. It works so well with me, so I know the people who do seriously, it will definitely going to work for them.
Okay. And sir, how can spirituality help teenagers?
No. Why the schools are not talking about it? Because the school educators don't know that, you know. And somehow I think the teenagers has to maybe start protesting. You know, every school should teach the meditation or practice of spiritual as a science or math. I think you guys can demand, because your happiness matters.
Yes, we're all going to be standing outside exams office tomorrow.
And then the school policy makers, management, they have to do it. In our school, I make it mandatory. Okay. You know, I have a power to do this. And I said, you know, just imagine, if I am unhappy, I can make all my colleagues unhappy. All my colleagues can make children unhappy. In an unhappiness environment, learning never happens. Learning can only happen when we are happy. Happiness is a key. Happiness is the foundation of learning. You know, then every time you become unhappy, we try to compensate that, giving ice cream, gifts, or doing something else. That is not the way to create a happiness. So I think 21st century, if the 21st century generation teenagers, if you do not pay attention to that, I think you will end up paying huge price for that. And I think in India, we are lucky because of India has such a richness, the spiritual practices we have. I think we need to take advantage of that.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of families play such an important role in upbringing and giving values to the children. But sometimes we see that families themselves are engaged in conflicts and the children are helpless. So what can be done in those situations?
Wow, you're asking me very difficult question. Honestly, I don't know when we think about school. When you're in a school, I feel a little more hopeful. But in a family also, I think, like smart girl, like you, I think you could start really educating your parents. You know, I think you guys can be a great educator. You guys can be really eye-openers. Because parents will listen to you, the educators will listen to you. You know, you guys can be really eye-openers for the parents. Because there is a gap. You know, I see India is such a rich, we have so much religion, we have so much faith, we have so much spiritual, amazing thing. And then suddenly everybody is thinking about modernization or westernization. We are just so distracted. But now this generation, I see a lot of younger generation, I feel is, now you are realizing there is something lacking in our life. And you guys will be maybe the connector. Maybe you guys will connect us to the root. Yes. And I'm not saying that our parents' generations are like, but very few, I think. But the younger generations I see now, like, they are really looking for a purpose. They're thinking beyond money. They are not thinking about, like, you know, life is all about making money. I see there is a huge shift there. You know, like so the questions that you are asking me, I would never expect from you to ask this question. This is like really adult, grown-up, mature question. I think you guys has to start this revolution of educating even parents. You know, let's figure out, you know, what is the purpose of life? Do you want me to see happy, very happy, doing meaningful things? I don't know, but I think you could play a big role in that.
Yes, absolutely, so wonderful, sir. So, even with all of this, what are some common problems you've seen teenagers witness here and in the West as well?
Lot of similarity, because I think somehow our teenagers also looking the Western teenager as a role model. And we are constantly influenced by media, social media, and everything that we have access. Very similar, I feel. I don't know a difference between, I don't think there's really much difference as a teenager, you know, especially if you are in a city. Now, in the remote villages where we live, that I see again big gap, because a teenager over there don't have much access to you know, the internet and all this thing. So they are a little different. But normally if you are in a city like Jaipur, I don't think there's much difference. The positive side is, like today, you know, coming to your school, is I felt very overwhelmed and very overjoyed, the kids, you know, touching the feet and receiving Ashirvad blessing. I was really actually felt really strong emotion to that, and I think those are so beautiful. I think I love culture. I love, this is something, yeah, you don't see this in the West. You know, I think modernization is something we cannot stop, but it doesn't mean we have to westernize ourselves. Our country, and this country has so much amazing cultures. So in that sense, I think it's beautiful.
Yes, absolutely, sir. So have you ever been questioned or criticized about what you do? And if so, how did you deal with it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think our community is very open. So we do every year 2-3 times retreat, where everybody is, our first retreat we started actually came to the Rajasthan, something connection amazing. We went to the Pushkar. It was our first retreat. So in that retreat, everybody has to come, from cook, driver, masons, everybody has to come. And people criticized me for saying, you know, you must have a lot of money. We don't do these things. For me, every adults who live in our school community, they are teacher. They're teacher of life. Because when kids are interacting with anybody, everybody is teaching something to them. For me, they are teacher of life. You know, and of course the academic teacher, you teach very specific subject. So for me it's very important that everybody understand what they are doing, see the value in what they are contributing. And in that kind of setup, you know, in 1 week of retreat, driver will criticize me, cook will criticize me. And I shouldn't say I never took it. And there was time I got really kind of pissed off. But most of the time, I handle really well. I'm pretty good at that. And I encourage this. Since I failed there was few times, so I'm doing this more because I want to overcome that. I need to face that challenge. And that makes me really see my own personal growth also. It's easy when you're on a top, you tell people and you just, let them speak against you. But when people are speaking, it doesn't matter, how great you are, people are always going to criticize. And there's nothing wrong with that. What is wrong is where you respond to that. The people who are criticizing is never wrong. But who is wrong is where we respond to this is wrong. So I'm a very self-critical person. So when I don't handle somebody's criticize, I get really mad at me. So where I can overcome this, I always create the environment where people can criticize me in language or give me the feedback. This is not right. We don't like that. So we do this lot of retreat, even with the children. So my colleague Humera is there. So, and often retreats are with the children from class 8 onwards. And children will speak in front of you. And that helps me to grow. I need personal growth, obviously. So I know I'm not Buddha, very far away from Buddha, but I still have aspiration to become Buddha. So I should enjoy and criticize. But I fail also, honestly.
We're all human, after all.
We're all human. Thank you. That's a good reminder.
Yes, sir. So, as we see around us, for most people, the definition of peace is the absence of war. Is it so?
No. Definitely not. You see, even corruption is violent. Injustice is violent. When you have those in you, you're not in a peace. So peace is a very personal thing. If we able to achieve peace through our internal work, internal practice, then even war would not bother us. Not definitely, absence of, all of us are in battle, inside, for so many reasons. And we may look very peaceful outside, but we are all actually in this our own battle. Nobody could see that. And definitely not absolutely just absence of war is a peace. And when you have peace from inside, then even you could see so many chaos, so many disturbance outside, and it don't bother you. Since we are not peace inside, and a small thing can bother us, and then we feel this is a trigger, and maybe it's a trigger, but then you see obviously, okay, this has disturbed me, so I lost a peace, but we are already, not peace inside. I think this is what my thoughts.
That's a wonderful perspective, sir. So how do you suggest youngsters can deal with the pressure of living in a world full of cutthroat competition?
I believe one thing that we all have to work on is on us. On us. I don't think we have to, moment we worry about competing with somebody else, and peace is gone. And nobody is going to win that competition. When you are competing with somebody else, you already start something race that you're born to fail. Nobody wins that. But what is a positive about competing is competing with oneself. I'm going to compete myself from yesterday. I want to become the better Lobsang today compared to yesterday. And I want to become tomorrow. The tomorrow's Lobsang will be better than today's. And that healthy competition, you always win, no matter what. you can make a tiny progress. Everybody wins in this healthy competition. Movement is wrong. Of course, movement, you cannot say, you will not find a peace. I'm competing with this person and I also need a peace. That is never going to happen. You are totally in the wrong game now. It means you are going to lose a peace. Because then nobody wins. Tell me anybody in this world who won that competition always. No. Everybody loses that kind of competition. Yeah. So it's for me, it's like, moment I think of I need to compete with somebody, I will not have a peace. But I always actually see, I want to be better Lobsang tomorrow. I want to be better today than yesterday's Lobsang. And actually looking at myself, and that gives me so much joy and a lot of celebration. Celebrate. There's so many reasons to celebrate every day.
Absolutely so. So before we end, what message or what advice would you like to give to everybody?
I don't know. This is very, very, very actually fancy interview. Oh, I'm not good with these things. Oh my goodness. I think especially for our children, love yourself. Always think. One of the most amazing thing, I think, maybe I would say this way, not so simple, maybe not, I am not able to tell this in a simple language, is every day we get up. Today in this world, so much money, so much material, so much of the distraction. Every time we get up, we give wow to other things. Wow, wow. You go to the social media, you say, wow, look at this person, become viral, so famous, blah, 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 blah. But one thing I will encourage everybody is get up every morning if you're alive, look at the mirror and say wow to yourself. What is bigger than life? You tell me. What is bigger than life? Nothing is bigger than life. Nothing is bigger than what we have. Everybody has a life. If you are alive, then that is the biggest wow. Give that wow to yourself. Say, wow, you are beautiful, you are smart, you are amazing. And again, I'm not saying this to make yourself good. No, I don't do these things. It's honestly think about this. You give a wow for like crazy things. You see like nice phone. Wow, look at this phone. How many times you said wow to yourself? Maybe most people don't never say wow to. I have a small mirror in my bathroom. I get up and I do say wow. People might think I am really crazy, but I do feel wow. I feel wow. I talk to myself. I stand in, and especially when I travel, and these hotels have a big mirror, and I talk to myself. I say, wow, you look great. I'm not joking. And this is I feel. And I mean, there's no way you guys you are in the palace. If you cannot say wow to yourself, then don't ask any question to become successful and happy in your life. I think you're missing big thing there. I'm just thinking, wow, you're like basically, you're royal life. People dream of this, having royal life. And you forget to say wow to yourself. Wow to yourself. Be grateful. Start with this, maybe this, love yourself, take care of yourself, take time for yourself. And another thing is, do not spend too much time with the phone. Every day, make good discipline in life to turn up your phone. In where we live, most of the time we do not have internet. And now we are thinking of going the tech-free week we are thinking of. A lot of staffs are panicking. I said, every month, we will turn up all technology for a whole week to disconnect, to connect with yourself. The problem is young generation is you're totally disconnected from yourself. And you're giving wow to everybody and nobody is giving to wow. And everybody is working for that. So I think I will not encourage you to turn a phone for a whole week, but every day at least give 1 hour. Turn up. Put in what you call flight mode and turn up your phone and tell your parents and friends, do not disturb me. I'm not saying you meditate. Don't meditate. Go eat ice cream. Talk to somebody. Spend time with your pet. Go to, just walk on a city. Absorb so much things we see. An hour you can do this. That is the way to love yourself. Am I too much, yeah? I say too much, yeah.
That was so eye-opening, sir. Thank you. So informative. Thank you for being here. Thank you for gracing us
Thank you.
with your
Thank you so
presence.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Thank you so much. My honor. Thank you so much.